Just imagine, what does it take to build the most successful car in the history of one of the most storied automobile brands on the planet? In January 1976, Mercedes-Benz pulled the wraps off a car in the south of France, a car that, on the surface, looked almost deliberately understated. No wild fins, no aggressive scoops, no flashy gimmicks. Just clean, honest, Germanic lines that seem to say, "We don't need to impress you. We already have." The car was the Mercedes-Benz W123. And over the next decade, it would sell nearly 2.7 million units, become a symbol of safety, reliability, and restrained luxury, and cement Mercedes-Benz's reputation as the benchmark of the automotive world. But the story of the W123 is not just a story of a great car. It's a story of bold engineering decisions, oil crises, global production headaches, a black market for brand new cars, and a design philosophy so timeless that half a century later, the W123 is still turning heads on the streets of Nairobi, Lagos, Stuttgart, and New York. The car that built Mercedes, the full story of the W123. To understand why the W123 was born, we need to go back to the early 1970s, a period of enormous turbulence in the global economy, and specifically in the car industry. In 1973, the OPEC oil embargo sent shockwaves through the entire Western world. Fuel prices skyrocketed overnight. Governments imposed speed limits. In West Germany, there were actual car-free Sundays, a surreal sight in a country that had built its post-war identity around the automobile. For Daimler-Benz, the timing couldn't have been worse, or, as history would show, better. They were already deep in development of the successor to their mid-size W114 and W115 series, cars that had served them well through the late 1960s and early 1970s. But the oil crisis fundamentally rewrote the engineering brief. Mercedes needed a car that was more fuel efficient than its predecessor, lighter in construction without sacrificing the tank-like build quality Mercedes was known for, capable of taking diesel engines seriously, not as a budget option, but as a genuine competitive powertrain. And on top of all that, they needed it to make people want a Mercedes, even in hard economic times. The W123 had to be aspirational and practical, a car your boss drove and a car that your taxi driver could run for 500,000 kilometers without a breakdown. That is an extraordinarily hard brief to fill, and yet they did it. The design process for the W123 began in the late 1960s, well before the oil crisis, as Mercedes began planning the evolution of their mid-size lineup. At the helm of the Daimler-Benz styling department was Friedrich Geiger, a man who had been designing Mercedes automobiles since the 1930s. Yes, you heard that right. Geiger's fingerprints were on everything from the pre-war classics to the swooping W111 of the late 1950s. For the W123, he led the department through the crucial early design phases. But working alongside him, and increasingly stepping into the spotlight, was a young Italian-born designer named Bruno Sacco. Sacco would go on to become one of the most revered automotive designers of the 20th century, and the W123 was among his formative works at Daimler-Benz. The design patent for the W123 Saloon was filed in Germany in August 1972, with the design finalized in 1973, just as Geiger was preparing to retire that December. So what were they actually trying to achieve visually? Chief engineer Hans Scherenberg laid it out in terms that are almost poetry in engineering circles. He said, and I'm quoting here, they wanted to create greater than \\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\\0
To
A balanced, dynamic, non-aggressive form, one that lends these vehicles a special character by emphasizing horizontal lines both at the front and rear, suggesting a slight wedge shape from the side aspect, reducing the use of chrome trim, and, in the truest sense of the term, introducing rounded lines. We are as unimpressed by revolutionary leaps of style as by fashionable gimmicks. Read that again. Unimpressed by revolutionary leaps of style. That is a design philosophy that would be laughed out of most boardrooms today. But Mercedes meant every word of it. The W123 drew heavy inspiration from the larger W116 S-Class, which had launched in 1972. It borrowed the W116's wider ribbed taillights, the horizontal headlamp treatment, and the pull-to-open door handles. The shoulder line was sharp and confident. The roofline flowed cleanly from front to rear with no unnecessary drama. But beneath that conservative exterior, the designers and engineers made some genuinely innovative decisions. The body structure was significantly more rigid than its predecessor, built with extensive use of high-strength steel. The car incorporated crumple zones, energy-absorbing structures at the front and rear, at a time when many competitors still treated safety engineering as an afterthought. The wide stance and long wheelbase gave the car balanced proportions. It sat on the road with what I can only describe as authority, not aggression, just absolute confidence. Inside, the designers completely rethought the dashboard. Gone was the old-fashioned layout of the W114. In its place came a modern instrument panel with 3 large gauges under a single plastic cover, central round ventilation outlets, and a clean HVAC panel with 3 large dials. It was logical, ergonomic, and built to last. The T-Model Estate version received its own design work in 1975, with Bruno Sacco credited specifically on that body style's patent, making the W123 a true family of vehicles designed with exceptional coherence. The design was done. The philosophy was locked in. Now came the hard part, actually building the thing. The W123 went into production at Mercedes-Benz's famous Sindelfingen plant near Stuttgart in November 1975. And almost immediately, it ran into a problem that most car manufacturers would dream of having. The car was so popular, so desperately in demand, that the factory simply could not build them fast enough. Following a slow production buildup during the first year, which was necessary just to iron out the manufacturing process, customers who had placed their orders were told to wait 9 to 12 months for delivery. In today's world of supply chain crises, we've become somewhat accustomed to waiting for cars. But in 1976, telling a customer to wait up to a year for their new Mercedes was extraordinary. And the market responded in a way nobody at Daimler-Benz had quite predicted. A black market emerged. People who had somehow managed to secure a W123 were selling them almost immediately, at a 5,000 Deutschmark premium over the original purchase price. Let that sink in. The car was so desirable that lightly used examples were fetching more than brand new ones from the factory. This wasn't just a marketing triumph, it was a logistical emergency. Mercedes had to rapidly scale up production while simultaneously maintaining the quality standards that made people want the car in the first place. The engineering challenges didn't stop there. Challenge number 1, the engine dilemma. Mercedes needed to offer the W123 with a wide range of engines to appeal to different markets and comply with different regulations. In total, over its lifespan, the W123 would offer 11 engines, 6 petrol units and 5 diesel ones, ranging from a modest 2.0-liter 4-cylinder all the way to a 3.0-liter turbodiesel inline-5. Most of these engines were carried over from the W114/W115 predecessor, which helped with development costs. But one engine, the M123 2.5-liter inline-6, was a brand new addition, offering a middle-ground performance option for European buyers. Challenge number 2, U.S. market regulations. The North American market presented a particularly thorny challenge. The United States was tightening its EPA emissions regulations throughout the late 1970s, and Mercedes found itself having to tune its engines specifically for compliance, a costly, time-consuming process. The 2.5-liter M123 engine was deemed too difficult to certify for the US and was simply never offered there. American customers got just two petrol options, 2.3 and 2.8 liters, and even those were eventually pulled from the US market as regulations tightened further. Challenge number 3, the German tax system. Back in West Germany, a different regulatory challenge shaped the engine lineup. The German government imposed heavy taxation on engines above 2.8 liters, making large displacement engines commercially unviable for a car in the W123's class. This forced Mercedes' engineers to be creative. How do you extract more power from smaller engines? The answer came through fuel injection, improved combustion chamber design, and meticulous carburetor tuning. The result was a range of engines that punched above their displacement, genuinely impressive for the era. Challenge number 4, global manufacturing. As demand exploded globally, Mercedes made the significant decision to expand W123 production beyond Germany. Assembly lines were set up in South Africa, East London, Thailand, Samut Prakarn, and eventually China, Changchun, through FAW. Each location presented its own challenges, adapting German manufacturing standards to different workforces, supply chains, and climates. The South African operation ran for the longest, producing sedans exclusively. Challenge number 5, the diesel revolution. Perhaps the most fascinating engineering challenge was Mercedes' decision to take diesel powertrains seriously as premium options, not just economy compromises. The 300D, powered by the OM6 Centene inline-5 diesel, became something of a legend in its own right. In the United States especially, where the fuel crisis had made diesel suddenly attractive, the 300D sold in significant numbers. Mercedes was essentially betting that buyers would accept the refinement trade-offs of diesel if the fuel economy benefits were real enough. They were right, and in doing so, Mercedes helped establish the template for the diesel-powered executive car that European manufacturers would follow for decades. One of the most impressive aspects of the 123 is just how many versions Mercedes produced. This wasn't a one-size-fits-all car. It was a family of vehicles, each body style with its own character and market positioning. Let's break them down. The four-door sedan was the heart of the range, and the car that most people think of when they hear W123. It launched in January 1976 and remained in production until November 1985. It was available in a dizzying array of engine configurations. The petrol models: 200, 2.0-liter M115 four-cylinder. The entry point: modest but reliable. 230, 2.3-liter four-cylinder. The sweet spot for many European buyers. 230e, 2.3-liter with fuel injection. 442,000 units sold, the second best-selling W123 variant ever. 250, 2.5-liter M123 inline-6. European exclusive, the smoothest petrol W123. 280, 2.7-liter M110 inline-6 with carburetors. 28e, 2.7 liters with Bosch fuel injection, the performance flagship of the range. The diesel models: 200D, 2.0 liters four-cylinder diesel. 378,000 units sold, third best-selling variant. 220D, 2.2-liter diesel, offered in early production. 240D, 2.4-liter OM616 diesel, the single best-selling W123 variant of all time. 448,986 units. Beloved for its bulletproof reliability. 300D, 3.0-liter OM617 5-cylinder diesel. Smooth, torquey, and especially popular in North America. 300D Turbo, 3.0-liter turbocharged diesel.
The performance diesel, relatively rare but genuinely impressive for its era. In the spring of 1977, Mercedes introduced the two-door coupe version, internally coded C123. And if the Saloon was the head of the family, the coupe was its heart. With its pillarless side windows, meaning there was no B-pillar between the front and rear side glass, the C123 created a dramatic, almost sports car-like greenhouse. When you wound all four windows down, there was nothing between you and the open air. The coupe rode on a shorter wheelbase than the Saloon and was available in fewer engine options, primarily the 230C, 280C, and 280CE. 99,884 coupes were produced in total. The rarest variant? The 280C coupe, of which only 3,704 were built. If you find one of those, you found something genuinely special. In the autumn of 1977, Mercedes did something it had never done before in the modern era. It built a station wagon. The S123T model was the first proper Mercedes estate, and the T stood for, depending on who you ask, either transport or touring. Mercedes, characteristically, said it stood for both. The T model was not just a saloon with the roof chopped off and a tailgate slapped on. It was a properly engineered load lugger, with a complex rear suspension setup to cope with heavier payloads, and it offered genuine versatility without sacrificing the W123's core character. 199,517 T models were produced, a significant number for what was essentially Mercedes entering an entirely new market segment. For those who needed even more rear seat space, heads of state, diplomats, corporate executives, Mercedes offered the V123, a long wheelbase limousine version. Stretched in the middle to provide substantially more legroom in the rear, the V123 was most commonly used as an official state car across Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, markets where the W123 became almost synonymous with governmental authority. Only 7,020 V123 limousines were produced, making it the rarest of the four body styles. January 1976. The French Riviera town of Bandol in southern France. Mercedes-Benz gathers the world's automotive press for what they are billing as a major event. The W123 sedan is unveiled, and the reaction? It's interesting. Not fireworks, not gasps of astonishment, more like deep, satisfied nodding. Because the automotive press got it immediately. This was not a car trying to dazzle you. This was a car that had been engineered, obsessively, methodically, without shortcuts, to be the best possible version of what a family executive car could be. Period reviews praised the W123 for exactly the qualities Mercedes had set out to achieve. Exceptional build quality, a refined ride, impressively tight body control for a car of its size, and an interior that felt like it would outlast its owner. German publication Automotive und Sport noted the extraordinary waiting periods almost immediately. That black market story we mentioned? It made the papers within weeks of launch. In the United Kingdom, the W123 quickly became the car of choice for a certain kind of buyer. Someone who wanted the best, knew the best when they saw it, and didn't need to shout about it. In Africa, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, the W123 became something even more fundamental. It became the taxi, the workhorse, the car that could take anything a dirt road could throw at it and keep going. Legends grew up around the W123's durability. Stories of taxi fleets running 500,000 kilometers on original engines. Stories of W123s still running in the 21st century on their first gearbox. These were not myths. The W123 genuinely was that durable. And that durability became perhaps its most powerful marketing message, not because Mercedes advertised it, but because the cars simply proved it themselves. Throughout its decade-long production run, the W123 received a series of updates. None of them transformed the car's appearance in any dramatic way, which, you'll remember, was entirely deliberate. Mercedes had built a design meant to age gracefully. The key updates included 1979. A series of mechanical refinements were made across the range, including improvements to the fuel injection systems on the petrol models and updates to the diesel engine management. 1980. The interior received minor revisions. New seat fabric options were added. The steering wheel design was updated. 1982. Some of the most significant under-the-skin engineering changes arrived, including updates to the suspension geometry on certain models and the introduction of the turbodiesel 300D Turbo, which gave the W123 its most potent diesel option. Headlamp revision. Later production models received horizontal headlamps across a wider range of variants, bringing more visual consistency to the lineup. By the mid-1980s, Mercedes was already deep in development of the W123's successor, the W124, which would launch in 1984 as a 1985 model. The W124 was in many ways the W123 taken to its logical conclusion. More aerodynamic, more technologically advanced, but built on the same philosophy of engineered excellence. Saloon production of the W123 ended in November 1985. Coupé and estate production ended in January 1986, right at the point where the W124 was settling into its production rhythm. When the last W123 rolled off the line at Sindelfingen, the final total stood at an almost incomprehensible 2,696,915 units. That made it, at the time, the most successful Mercedes-Benz ever built. Let's put the W123's commercial success into perspective. Total production, 2,696,915 units. Breaking that down by body style, Saloons, 2,375,440. Estates, T-model, 199,517. Coupés, 99,884. Limousines, 13,700. Bare chassis, 1,353. Long wheelbase chassis, 7,020. The best-selling individual model? The 240D diesel with 448,986 units. Proof that Mercedes' bet on diesel as a serious powertrain paid off spectacularly. Second place, the 230E petrol with 442,000 units. Third, the 200D with 378,000 units. Notice a pattern? Efficiency-focused models dominated the sales charts, a direct consequence of the oil crisis context in which the W123 was born. The car's celebrity fan base was no joke either. Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees owned one. Bonnie Tyler drove one. Even Lady Gaga has been pictured with a W123. In some ways, the car's appeal is almost anti-celebrity. It doesn't shout, it doesn't pose. It simply exists at a level of quality that people who know things recognize immediately. Today, 50 years after launch, the W123 is a thriving classic car. Prices have been rising steadily as younger enthusiasts discover the car's unique combination of old-school character and exceptional build quality. The Coupé variants in particular have seen significant appreciation. And remarkably, Mercedes-Benz still manufactures spare parts for the W123, an almost unheard-of commitment to a car that went out of production in 1986. That says everything about how seriously the company takes the car's legacy. The Mercedes-Benz W123 is proof that there is a way to build a car that transcends its era. Not by being radical, not by being flashy, but by being right. So thoroughly, so honestly, so completely right that time cannot diminish it. It was born from crisis and constraint, shaped by a design philosophy that rejected gimmicks, built by an engineering team that saw longevity as the highest form of luxury. It survived oil shocks, regulatory upheaval, production scaling nightmares, and the relentless pressure of competition. And it came out the other side with 2.7 million units sold and a reputation that, frankly, only grows stronger with each passing year. The W123 didn't just build Mercedes-Benz's commercial success, it built the idea of what Mercedes-Benz stands for, and that might be the greatest achievement of all. If you haven't driven one yet, find one. You'll understand immediately.